Welcome, listeners, to Through the Sightglass, a podcast that dives deep into the fascinating world of craft beer and celebrates the incredible individuals who shape its vibrant landscape. Join us on a journey where we explore the nuances of this amazing industry and the remarkable people who contribute to its richness and diversity. Today, we have the pleasure of sitting down with Ryan Place of Heist Brewery.
Hello, hello.
Thank you so much for your time, Ryan. We appreciate it.
Absolutely appreciate y'all stopping through.
I know. We're so excited to be here.
On a nice, kind of cold, rainy day. It makes feel like fall is actually coming.
I know. We're loving it.
I made mention earlier to someone that September last year was just so hot, and this just feels like a great reprieve, and it's been a nice break from what we normally experience here in the Carolinas. So I'm glad that y'all are able to stop through when we're experiencing something a little bit more normal, other than hell.
Yeah, true.
Exactly.
It's kind of nice to have normal
it
for
is nice.
how chaotic the world can be.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's kick it off. I know we've already said your name, but will you introduce yourself and your role here at the brewery?
Yeah, so like you said, name's Ryan Place. I am the director of marketing and social media for the brewery. It's the sixth job I've had in a little over 7 years here.
Okay, nice.
So it's one of those, wherever I needed to be utilized, let me know. I'm going to show you that I deserve to be here, and that I'm going to work as hard as possible.
Yeah.
And social media is just something that I kind of fell in love with 5 or 6 years ago. I'm definitely on the older end of people that
Understand it?
yeah,
Or can work it?
a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But something I've enjoyed doing for Heist for I've been doing the social media here for over 7 years.
Oh, nice. Congrats.
Thank you. So it's been off and on throughout that. We started with just one location. We added a second location. We added a second social media. We added a pizza spot in the second location. We added a third social media. So it's exponential growth.
Yeah, so kind of umbrellaed into smaller sectors so it's not just all associated with just Heist Brewery.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's amazing. So where do you call home, or where did you grow up?
Grew up in a little town called Lebanon, New Hampshire.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
It is absolutely the middle of nowhere. It's halfway up the state, literally right on the Vermont border.
Okay.
Grew up there until I was 18. My dad looked at me in high school and said, "Hey, look at colleges in North Carolina, because that's where we're moving when you graduate."
Oh, okay.
Oh, thanks, Dad.
Good to know.
Military family or no?
No.
Okay.
So mother was working insurance for a long time. Father's been with the post office. They're both retired now.
Oh, congrats to them.
But my father wanted to move to a better climate where he didn't have to deal with snow 5 months out of the year.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense as a post.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It kind of, and we don't ski, we don't snowboard or anything like that.
Gotcha.
Like my father coached women's basketball in high school.
Okay.
But that's not enough to really keep you around once your only child, only child at the time,
Okay.
graduates.
Yeah.
But he said, "Look, North Carolina is where we're going to go." He looked at jobs across the state. He ended up in Charlotte. I ended up over in Fayetteville going to college.
Nice.
But I thoroughly love North Carolina, and I am okay not being near snow so much.
Gotcha. I was going to ask the difference for you since you were there for 18 years.
Yeah, kind of the landscape and climate from
So what kind of a change
New
was it
Hampshire
for
to
you?
North Carolina.
The biggest change for me was just the people. I had heard the whole Southern hospitality thing and how people treat you in the South is a little bit different, a little bit more friendly, a little bit more approachable. And it was really, really nice to come down here and see that was very true. And I'm not saying people from my home state or from the North are in any way jerks or anything like that.
Just
but
different,
yeah, it's a different kind of nice.
Yes.
Is a good way to put it.
Yes, it is.
But because I like it so much down here, it made sense to just stay. So still visit up there every once in a while, but
Families in North Carolina.
my father is in North Carolina. My mother and everyone else is split between New Hampshire and Maine.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Gotcha.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. Very nice. So what did you go to school for?
Music,
Oh, rad. So I assume you play?
sing.
Oh, wonderful.
You do.
Okay.
I was going to say you both have really
the
good
bass
and
voice,
You
I
sing,
heard it, I was
you
like,
sing really well,
yes.
so I was like, he must sing.
Yeah.
I originally was going to go to school for something called professional golf management. Yes, that is
Okay.
a real thing.
Okay. I mean, PGA. I mean, there has to
Yep.
be some type of management for it. Yeah.
So there's back in 2000 when I started college, there were 8 schools in the country that were accredited with. It's called the PGM program.
Okay.
Basically, you learn everything to know there is about golf with managing courses. A lot of people got out of that and started working for like Titleist and Nike, Jack Nicklaus, stuff
Gotcha.
like that. Some went on to be pros on the actual tour. Some were pros at golf courses.
So you liked golf?
I still play to this day. I started when I was 8 years old. I'm 42 now.
Yeah.
So,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm not saying I'm good at it, but I
But
play.
you,
Yeah.
Hey. doesn't
The
matter.
opposite have a
Really.
passion for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I played competitive growing up, but when I got to college, you had to be under a certain handicap in order to be able to be part of the program. I never was able to get my handicap low enough to be in the program.
Gotcha.
I changed to being a music major, and go figure, my golf game got better, and I could have gone back to it and been part of it, but I figured out that music was what I was supposed to be doing. It was what I was truly enjoying. I met my best friend from college that I still talk to this day back in 2001 because of the music program.
Oh, wonderful.
And so you grew up golfing and singing then, I'm assuming?
Golf started at 8, singing started at 11.
Okay.
Is there anybody else in your family that is musically inclined?
My father does play the piano.
Okay.
My cousin on that side of the family, for a while, was the program director of Carnegie Hall.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. So it's in your DNA.
World-class double bassist, works at Juilliard School of Music
Yeah.
now. So,
That is wild.
yeah, so it's in the family.
Yeah, yeah. So you were singing major, played some golf. What happened out after college?
Struggles.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, a lot of people, I
Yeah,
get that,
yeah.
and but I took 8 years to finish my undergrad degree. It was one of those, again, moving from New Hampshire to North Carolina was just a complete shock. I was depressed. My GPA, my first semester was a .48.
Nice.
So that's I was passing 1 hour of the 18 that I was taking.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So got my act together for a few years and then decided, school's just not for me, but I was determined to finish.
Yeah.
Took 8 years to finish that, moved back to Charlotte, worked at a couple of restaurants, worked at a retail store. I want to say I was 28 when I found a restaurant in Charlotte that I started working for, became the beverage manager for them, and the whole concept was let's start bringing in local beer.
Oh, nice.
At that point in time, we only had 3 breweries in Charlotte.
Okay.
Charlotte proper.
Yeah.
It's not trying to date you, but around what time was this?
So that would be 2011.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so craft beer was like getting more popular and was definitely like
Yeah.
noticeable, but it still hadn't boomed.
Exactly. Like
Yeah.
you could find, Stone and Sierra Nevada and all of these other breweries in multiple stores. That's when the Total Wines started really popping up everywhere in
Yeah.
stores, and you could find craft beer in there. But Charlotte was starting to get into it. We had the old Mecklenburg Brewery was our first one. Noda Brewing and Birdsong came right after that.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So the local options were very limited. But they
Did
were.
you know about them? Like, had you had them before you started this job?
I had in 2010. I wasn't a big fan of classic style, like mainly lagers and pilsners. I just was not drinking.
Yeah.
It wasn't who I was. I fell in love with craft beer by drinking Stone Ruination IPA. I wanted something that was insanely bitter and just intense.
Yeah.
So lagers just weren't my thing.
Right.
Enter Noda Brewing, and they made a rye double IPA called Notarized that was just so good. And all of a sudden, it was one of those, okay, we've got quality to me. Other people had been drinking Old Mecklenburg, but Noda was what really put me on.
Okay.
Yeah, to really start to show that you could push the boundary and push the barrier.
Exactly. So, and it was, again, nothing against the classic styles. I love a lager now. I'm drinking a fest beer right now.
Yeah.
But back then, that was not for me.
Yeah.
But again, that's how you start a beer journey.
Oh,
You get
yeah.
into it by finding one thing that you love.
We always ask.
and just go.
We always ask.
Yeah.
What was the one beer?
And I think it's pretty common too, because I also think a lot of people's first intros into craft beer, like mine was Rogue Dead Guy Ale, which did not taste good to me. But the thing is, though, that it was so overly aggressive, and there was to me, I thought so many complexities of like what I was trying to taste that at least made me curious to try other things. Because before that, it'd been like Hornsby ciders. I wasn't really a drinker. I grew up Mormon, so I didn't drink in high school. And my roommates, whatever they would buy, they would like share with me. But like after having that, it did. And I think it's like that overly aggressive stuff that tends to catch people. I think it's harder sometimes for these have complexity, but they are much subtler. And unless you know to look for them, you're just kind of like, oh yeah, like this tastes like a Corona or this tastes like a macro lager.
Right.
Yeah.
And something I don't think I've really admitted to many people, but there's a first time for everything. Ruination is what made me fall in love with beer. The beer that got me interested in trying more is Leinenkugel's Sunset Wheat.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So I had a buddy in college that one time we were out to lunch and he looks at me and goes, dude, you got to try this. It tastes like Fruit Loops.
Okay.
A beer that tastes like, what? Are you're kidding me, right? Took one sip and was like, oh, he's not kidding. This shit's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was one of those, all right, let's see what else is out there in the beer world. 2 years later, Ruination hits.
Yeah.
I fall in love with beer, and it's just been a journey ever since.
Yeah. So we
Gotcha.
kind of skipped back, but so you started talking about the restaurant that you started working at that was wanting to bring in more local beers. So if you want to pick up where we left off for that, I mean, I was assuming it was going into a direction for you of craft beer.
That was. So running that bar for a while got me the opportunity to try a lot of things that maybe hadn't been on my radar before. And then I was given an opportunity to run a bar for a national chain. I accepted the job because it was a step up into a different management level with more career potential. And within about 6 months of that, I started pushing for more local options there because at that point in time, that was 2013, 2014, which Heist had been around at that point in time. Triple C was another brewery here in town that started. So in 2012, 2013, the brewing scene here started to really take off. But once I started pushing more local and more North Carolina based, because I went from a place that had 12 taps to a place that had 36, so I had a little more room to play around. And it opened more doors. And the thing that really helped was about a year into working there, I was approached to go down to their store in Metairie, Louisiana, just outside of New Orleans.
Oh, wow.
Hey, this bar's in trouble. We want you to help bring it back. Okay. How long? They were like, well, we're going to send you down there for 3 weeks. Do everything you can to make it local, craft, and people are showing up again.
So you're like John Taffer in Bar Rescue at this point, is what you were doing, or what you were tasked to.
I don't yell like he does.
Probably a good thing.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah.
It's a good communication quality.
Yeah.
But went down there, started learning about all the breweries in Louisiana and Mississippi, which it was a whole world of stuff because all we got up here in North Carolina was Abita.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
So when you go down there and all of a sudden, you try Parish for the first time, it was like, this is really good. And just finding that, all right, there's other spots that are doing really crazy good stuff. I fell in love with that beer scene, and it just showed me, all right, it's okay to travel the world and actually seek out beer.
Yeah.
Once my opportunity basically was done with that company, luckily Heist was looking for someone to be a floor manager at their original location. I applied, and within 1 week, I had been through my entire interview process, my salary negotiation, and I started with Heist.
Wow.
So that was like 2013, 2014?
So that would have been 2017.
2017,
Yeah,
okay.
my job with the other place finished in 2017.
I see.
Transitioned
So
into
it
this.
spanned that period of time.
Yeah. That's wild.
I was going to ask really quickly. So when you're implementing and you're essentially you're teaching and educating local customer base about the this new offering around them or the beer around them, what was that reception like? Were people very excited about it, or did you run into obstacles with customers and be like, no, just bring back the basically like what I would say is like the AB InBev list of just like Miller, Michelob, Shinerbach, whatever?
It was very split.
Okay.
Extremely, extremely split. There was, luckily, there were enough people that were excited to try something new. We definitely had some blowback on, well, I'm not bringing this seasonal back, and this is why. And we'd have people that were extremely upset. But I'm not bringing it back because why don't you try these three instead?
Yeah, it's similar.
Exactly. So it's similar style, just slightly altered flavor profiles that are going to hit three different palates instead of one. So you've got a little something for everyone. And as soon as people realize I'm not just going to throw you out there and and leave you to dry.
Give you options.
Exactly. I want you to still be able to find that beer that you're enjoying. But I want you to try to expand your horizon just a little bit. And you trust me enough to do that, I'm going to keep talking to you. You're going to keep talking to me. We're going to figure out, what else are you going to be willing to try? So there's some people that definitely are stuck in the I want to drink one thing and one thing only, and that's fine. My whole thing with everything is drink what you love. And if you grew up on Miller Lite, if you grew up on Coors Light, stuff like that, and that's what your palate wants, that's fine. But give me an opportunity to show that there is other things out there.
There's so much out there. There's so much. Like when you talked about like traveling the world and drinking beer, like there's so much beer, like good beer in the world. Like you could probably find a very similar beer that they liked from another brewery across the country or even across the world, so.
Yeah. Giving people options, I think, it influences them to try other things, and that doesn't just have to be for beer. Like maybe like you like this style of like pasta or food. Maybe try this iteration of it, or try something different. Because it's a catchy saying, but the spice is the main ingredient in life. I messed that up. My dyslexic brain. But yeah,
spices.
Variety is the spice of
Variety
life.
is it. I was like, what is it now?
Thank you for the correction.
Yeah. I also apologize for getting so close to the mic.
Oh no! Hey,
My bad.
your voice is
You're
great.
okay.
It's all
We
right.
can tone it down.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is true. Like the variety is the spice of life, and I think it brings more color into what we do every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so you're starting at the original location for Heist.
I was a floor manager.
Yeah. What did that look like? What?
Coming from managing a chain restaurant and managing a local one-off diner. Just I had the floor manager experience. Just being able to utilize the beer knowledge was it made me happy. It made me feel like I found something I'm supposed to do in life.
Oh, nice.
And so I tried to talk to the brewers as much as possible, start to learn about, why we're using different grain bills. Why are we using this hop instead of this hop? Why are we fermenting it for this long? Why are we resting it for this long? Yeah. I was very, very inquisitive because I wanted to know more. I, again, finally found that position where I wanted to know what I was doing.
Right.
Yeah. Knowledge is power too, so it only makes you better at your job.
So luckily I was able to just soak that all in. Our head brewer that I came into, his name was Eric Mitchell. He lives down in Alabama now.
Okay.
And he was just insane amounts of knowledge. And we had two other brewers on the team at that point, and that was Scott Worthington, who became our head brewer after Eric left.
Okay.
Oddly enough, Scott left and went to Alabama as well. Him and Eric started their own brewery.
Oh.
Nice.
And Trip Moser was an assistant brewer at the time. He is now our head brewer.
Gotcha.
He's been with us for 9 years.
Nice.
Oh,
Okay.
So, dude that knows the ins and outs.
Beer's great.
Super scientific mind. Like he can spout off scientific facts that you're like, how the hell do you remember this?
Yeah.
But it helps him make great beer and understand the inner workings of everything.
Oh yeah,
So-
I mean, there's several brewers that we've talked about that have science backgrounds, and it's it helps them. So it is science, so I mean, it helps them so much, and it makes sense. So that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, it definitely shows in the final product.
The final product is great.
And I think, so much that goes on, and I think just running a business, but specifically in breweries, is like the troubleshooting and creativity is almost like so intimately paired. Because, you can brew the same batch of beer and it could go the same way 10 times in a row, but then the next 3 times something wacky could happen.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, how do I steer it back in the direction I want it to go? And sometimes that is like super odd or different ways of doing things, whether it's switching out hops or you have to raise the temperature to burn off, some greenness from the hops after you dried hop to let that eat out and then come bring it back down. So
Yeah.
it is super interesting. And it shows the attention to detail is beautiful. The beers, we'll take photos. The beers
Yeah.
are clear. The hazy beer is beautiful and it looks like a hazy beer. So well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. We can't wait to go back and take some photos and do a tour too. So
Yeah.
fun.
Well, I can't take too much credit. I'm good at drinking it. I don't make it.
No, yeah. Well done,
You're
Trip.
good at promoting it.
Yeah.
that.
Well done,
Yeah.
Trip. And especially he's been here for 9 years. Is there a lot of longevity from the employees in Heist Brewery? Has there been a huge amount of turnover? Can you speak to that?
So the biggest challenge we faced is, the same challenge everyone's faced is COVID. It made people kind of take stock of where they're at in life and, can I be doing something else?
Yeah.
Am I truly enjoying what I'm doing? So a lot of our original spot is more of a restaurant than it is a brewery. So a lot of our staff over there did leave after COVID. Just they didn't want to really serve or bartend anymore, which is completely fine. When it comes to our brewing team, the shortest anyone's been with us is 6.5 years.
Dang.
And that would be Andrew, who started as a sound tech for us for concerts.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then he's got big knowledge, insane work ethic. And he was able to transition into being part of the brewhouse team.
Yeah.
Above him is Chris, who started as a server for us, which, again, you love stories like that, that
Yeah.
someone starts as a front of house employee. Again, same thing, work ethic, crazy.
Yeah.
And just showed that he deserved something more than being a server. And so he's grown into being our lead brewer now.
Nice.
The other thing that's great is in in this landscape that looks for diversity and equality, Chris being an African American lead brewer, which is still heavily underrepresented in the landscape of brewing, and to be able to help make the quality of stuff that we're able to put out, it's great to have the diversity that we do. Our sales manager started as just like me. She was a front of house manager, Lisa, and she's taken over as director of sales years ago, and I think she's been with Heist for 8.5 to 9 years as well.
Damn.
So our events manager has been with Heist for 9 years. So the people that are in the roles that are, I don't want to say influential, but the roles that are, I guess you could say, higher on the totem pole.
Yeah, leadership roles.
Yeah. We don't leave. It's really nice to be able to have a team that's that well put together, because we know each other's ins and outs. We know how each other is going to react to certain situations, and we're able to work through things as a team that much easier.
Totally.
Well, it's a testament to, obviously, one, like good communication, and I think transparency within the business. And having those types of leadership roles, you become like a beacon and advocate for others, that it doesn't just have to be run this one certain way or the simple way. And of course, over the years, there's been so much representation, and now programs and education to allow minorities, biopic people, even part of the LGBTQ community to feel involved, because that's something that is something I'm passionate about. Is just, this is what I love to do, brewing and being involved in this industry. And I never once thought that should be gatekept from anybody else because of anything. And it stinks that over the years, whether just like my blind ambition and passion, and I was just so happy and so elated to be doing what I loved, I wasn't maybe seeing that was happening, that's being held from other people because of, something that I believe shouldn't be. So
Right.
Yeah, and it has been great to hear, like what we've said, like we've done 20 plus podcasts now, and we've talked to a variety of people from all different backgrounds and all different genders and everything in between. And so it is so nice to continue to hear that across. Now that we're on the East Coast, we've heard it a little bit in the Midwest and the South a little bit, and then on the East Coast there's a little bit, or the West Coast there was some of it too that we got to talk to people. So it is good to know. I think sometimes you can get in such a bubble that you don't know what's going on in the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And so being able to talk and hear that is awesome as well. So thank you. I wanted to hear the story. How did Heist get started as a brewery? Do you know its origin stories? I'm assuming you do.
Yes. So we opened in 2012. At that point in time, there was no brew pub in Charlotte.
Oh, wow.
So Old Mecklenburg, Noda, and Birdsong were all just brewing their beer. They didn't have restaurant food or anything like that on site. So in 2010, our owner and founder, Kurt Hogan, who also, like me, is from up north, it's probably why we get along so well, he had the idea that he wanted to start a brewery, realized Charlotte was underrepresented. I don't want to get this wrong. I want to say he was working for Red Hook.
Okay.
So, I mean, you're talking long, long ago.
Yeah.
But he wanted to start a brewery in North Carolina, saw that Charlotte was pretty ripe for the picking at that point in time. When he got the whole concept, business plan, and everything together, the whole thought was, all right, what do we name this?
Yeah.
Well, why don't let's call it Heist. Because Charlotte being a banking city, it's a nice, ironic name.
Yeah, good play on words.
Why not call it Heist Brewery? So that plan came into fruition, and then he learned from his grandmother that he actually is a removed descendant of Lester M. Gillis, which is a name that it never rings any bells. When I say the name Babyface Nelson,
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
he's a distant relative of Babyface Nelson,
A notorious bank.
a notorious bank robber, where we now have the name Heist
Yeah.
in a banking capital.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So the whole thought was we wanted to start out originally as Belgian and German beers.
Okay.
Okay.
We brought in some experts from a different part of North Carolina to help develop a food menu, to help develop a Belgian and German-based brew house. The food was quite good. A lot of people just were not very respectful of the beer and brewing process.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't for everyone. I get that. Like, just like me. I had a certain style back in 2012 that I liked and certain styles I didn't.
Yeah.
The beers that we were making back in 2012, 2013, to the people that were coming in were serviceable, but not fantastic.
Okay.
2014, we changed head brewers to Eric, who was the head brewer when I was starting, who was a big beer historian, or I should say he is a beer historian, but he's also a big beer trader.
Oh, okay.
So in 2015, he started trading for a whole bunch of beers, and he went into his brew team at the time, and that was just before Tripp had joined. We had Eric, Scott, and we had a woman named Alexa that ended up being the head brewer at Legion Brewing here in Charlotte when it opened.
Okay.
But Eric traded for beers, brought them into his team, opened up a can and said, guys, this is Treehouse Julius. I want you to drink this because this is what we're making. Just period.
Yeah.
And Eric is great at saisons, barrel-aged sours. He created a barrel-aged stout called Cataclysm that, to this day, the third iteration of it was still one of the most sought-after beers in North Carolina.
Oh, wow. Amazing.
But we tried knocking out a few different hazy recipes. We started with one called Whirlpool Willie. So the whole thought was, don't put any hops in the boil, put them all in the whirlpool.
Yeah.
We had never done that before. And the first few iterations were like, well, okay, it's a step in the right direction. What else can we do? What else can we do? And about 6 months in, they switched up the grain bill a little bit. They added in a higher amount of flaked wheat, higher amount of flaked oats, brewed it up to 7.1%. And this is right when Citra hops were becoming Citra hops.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
It's still the most sought after hop,
Yeah.
like, on the planet.
Yeah.
Maybe not sought after, but definitely the most used hop
yeah.
on the planet. And they couldn't figure out a name. They couldn't figure out a spelling. So they went with kind of a tongue twister. And they called it Citraquential instead of quintessential.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I would
I
mess
like
that
that.
up for sure.
A lot of people did.
Citraquential.
So we had to spell it a few different ways before we were like, that's it.
Yeah.
But we released our first batch of that. And they took a couple of crowlers, because crowlers were a thing.
Yeah.
They took a couple of crowlers up to a local beer shop called Salud, popped them open for people up there, and at first people were a little confused because they see this just bright, hazy beer in 2016. It's like, well, what the heck is this?
Yeah.
People tried it, fell in love with it, and within 20 minutes, Eric and Scott got a call saying, hey, you need to get back here now. We can't keep up with people. And
Wow.
we were filling 2 crowlers per person at a time. We ran out of that first batch of Citroquential in 2 days.
Wow.
Wow.
On a 7-barrel system.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It took us to a whole other level.
Right.
We were able to get into our production facility that we actually nicknamed the house that Citra built. Just the overall success of that one beer kind of skyrocketed us, and it was the first successful hazy IPA in North Carolina history.
Wow.
That's amazing. Do y'all still serve it?
It's what he's drinking right now.
Oh.
No wonder. It's so good. It's so good.
It is really
Yeah.
good. It is very good. I love it.
Well, obviously-
I won't be able to say the name of it. I'll just say this is a short one, please.
Yeah, Citroquential. Yeah. So people that listen to our podcast, if you're here in Charlotte and have never been, or you're not in Charlotte,
And you
come to
wanna enjoy it.
Heist and
Yeah.
get this beer. It is.
Yeah.
The start of it reminds me of just like Starburst. It's kind of got that sweetness,
Yep.
kind of candy gummy, and it goes right into like ripe cantaloupe, honeydew melon with the perfect amount of just like orange citrus to it. It's really easy drinking.
Yeah,
So
it is really nice.
is
I feel like
amazing.
I've had whenever I feel like when I have hazies, they're like too hazy for me, you know? And this one is not like overly hazy, like trying too hard. Like it's just a good hazy, which I don't think I can find very often.
Well, and you know, there's nothing against any other brewery out there, but I think a lot of breweries try to hit the flaked oats and trying to get that in the grain bill a little bit too much. So
Yeah, they want that pillowy. They want
it's thick, it's slightly undercarbed,
Yeah, I think
which-
that's usually the thing for me. Yeah, it's undercarbed. Yeah.
which for the breweries that are doing it that way, keep doing it that way.
Yeah.
You're successful
Yeah.
for a reason,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
For us, we tone that back a little bit. We do carbonate it up a little bit higher. That way it feels a little bit more approachable instead of something that's just going to sit on your palate
Yeah.
and weigh it down.
Yeah.
100%.
love
And
it.
and especially, I mean, everybody's the palate is different, and so how they perceive carbonation and taste and that spritziness affects other things that they taste about the beer. I always liked my hazies a little bit like we would carb them. Even I think working at Fort George, it'd be like 2.5, sometimes 2.6. And part of that was because the carbonation helps, like with the aroma, it helps get all of those flavonoids to go up into your, I'm going to say this wrong, I think olfactories?
I don't know.
Olfactories. It's
Up
what your
your
nose
nose.
does.
We'll
Yeah.
go that.
Yeah. But, but it's like to each their own. If you do it well and you find it successful, like
Yeah.
you said, keep doing it.
doing it.
I think usually the biggest thing with hazies is people use way too much product, and especially like with hops, like
Right.
that's not always the answer in the case. You can express more out of hops sometimes with a less hopping rate and just adjusting and tweaking, like you said, like stuff in the boil, stuff in the whirlpool, or stuff in fermentation. Like that is possible now.
Yeah, for sure.
And the good thing for us is, you know, we found the part of kind of creating that hazy base for us was finding out, like you said, do we oversaturate? Are we underutilizing the hops?
Yeah.
And on our original system, I think it worked out to 4.2 pounds per barrel.
Okay.
Moving from an 8.5 barrel to a 30 barrel system, we upped it slightly. I think we are at 4.4 pounds
Okay.
per barrel
Yeah. So
now.
not a huge jump though.
No.
Yeah.
And we found that that's enough that our haze isn't going to come out green. We don't rest it very long.
Yeah.
But even after a few days, it's not green. But there's still a ton of punch of flavor behind it.
Yeah.
You know, there are other breweries in town that are on their normal haze using upwards of 12, 13 pounds per barrel.
Yeah.
Which I get, if that's what you want to do, go for it.
Yeah.
For us, we found that sweet spot, and once a year we have a variant of Citroquential that comes out called Two Quential.
Okay.
It was
Is it just a doubled up version?
A little bit more than that.
Oh, okay. I love it.
We amp it. I believe it's what movie is it where you turn it up to 11?
Oh.
I'm just trying to make that reference, but I hate the fact that
I don't want to say that's
Spinal
Wayne's
Tap.
World.
This is Spinal Tap.
Spinal Tap. That's right.
Okay.
Wow, I can't believe I remembered that.
No, yeah, that's good.
But we dial it up to 11 pounds per barrel
Okay.
of all Citra, and we do it through. It was a mistake the first time we made it.
Sometimes the best beers come from mistakes, but sometimes the worst beers also come from mistakes.
Yes,
so don't
very much
always,
that.
don't always, but sometimes you get lucky.
We got lucky because it was supposed to be a regular batch of Citroquential. Our brewers have always been great at taking very meticulous notes. Just always be able to go back to what we did. Like you said, you can brew something perfectly 10 times. That 11th time something goes wrong, you need to go back and look. All right, what changed in this one? Well, we forgot to take notes one time. And one of our brewers dry hopped Citroquential. The next day, a different brewer dry hopped Citroquential. Neither of them knew.
Yeah.
So then they both did it again.
I see.
So
That's how you.
So the double got doubled up again.
exactly.
That's awesome.
That's wild.
And it's become you can take Untapped for what it is. It's our highest rated hazy IPA on Untapped, has been since its original release.
Okay. Wow.
We typically sell out of cans of it in the tap room within 7 days max.
That's amazing.
Our distribution of it pre-sells out.
Yeah.
So we brew that a full 30-barrel batch, and we only keep it on tap for about 2 weeks until it completely sells out.
Wow.
So luckily, everything else, if you want to try our regular stuff, we'll usually keep around for 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay. Which is typical.
Some may be a little bit longer, some may be a little bit shorter. But yeah, that's the annual release that we keep getting asked. If it goes too far into the year, people start getting upset.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we try to not piss people off too much. But yeah, Born Out of a Mistake was one of our best beers of all time.
Oh, that's awesome. This is a quick jump back. Do you feel like when Citroquential was first brewed and kind of showcased to the local community around you and people were like, where can I get more of this? Do you feel like that was a bit of a change in rebirth for Heist? Or can you talk about maybe what the reputation or what people thought of Heist was before that? Because Belgian and German lagers, I absolutely love those styles of beer, but that can be very bold to give to people, and because you want it to pair with the food, to pair with the atmosphere, and it's like you want to give them an experience. And sometimes they're just like, no, I just want something that tastes like, it's essentially just a corn lager. Like, that's what I want. I don't want this.
Right. So, it really helped us be able to change people's minds.
Okay.
There were a lot of people that, the first couple of years would come and enjoy the food, but they weren't enjoying the beer. Again, if it's not your style, it's not your style.
Yeah.
Being able to jump into the hazy IPA realm before anyone else in Charlotte was trying to, rebirth is the best word to use.
Nice.
It gave us a new energy, and we were able to really move forward. And okay, we've finally got a hit. Let's make a few changes here and there, and see what we can do with slightly different grain bill. Let's switch up the hops a little bit, and being able to do this and getting the popularity off of them allowed us to, do the labors of love, the barrel aged saisons, and stuff like that.
The other fun projects.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So without this, who knows? We'd probably still be around.
Yeah.
But because of this, it definitely helped launch us into a different category. And when we were one of the first to really start canning a lot of stuff.
Oh, nice.
And every one Friday a month, we would do a can release. It would be 2 different beers. always hazy IPAs. But we set limits typically of 2 4-packs per person of each brand.
Yeah.
We'd still sell out in 5 hours.
That's awesome.
So, obviously, the landscape of beer, you've got 33, 34 breweries in Charlotte proper. If you extend that out to a 30-mile
Damn.
radius, it's 100.
Damn. Yeah.
So a lot of people find something they like to drink, which is great.
Yeah.
If it's us, awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I will rep this place forever. It gave me a chance, and it showed me what beer can truly do.
Yeah.
If you choose to drink a different brewery, great.
Yeah.
Trust me, my fridge is not just Heist beer.
Yeah.
But to be able to create something that people in the city had never seen or rallied behind before in terms of beer, really, really helped us be able to become who we are today.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
Yeah.
Do events help y'all at all? Do y'all do, as you said, you had an events manager, do y'all do a lot of events or do a lot of festivals or anything?
So when it comes to events, that's more of, we actually, because people do this nowadays, we have a lot of weddings that happen here,
Yeah.
a lot of receptions that happen here. We have
yeah.
a lot of corporate events that happen here with different
nice.
companies.
Y'all have a big space, so you have space for it for sure.
26,000 square feet, and that's not including the beer garden,
Nice.
which
Plenty of
can
space.
fit 500 people standing up for a concert.
Yeah. Especially you have a little amphitheater out there too, which is amazing.
It's nice to be able to have that. Sometimes it's a solo acoustic act that'll bring in 30 or 40 people. Sometimes it's a national touring act that'll bring in 300.
Nice.
So, and when it comes to festivals, we did host one for 3 iterations called Night and Day. The whole concept is we want every brewery that's here to bring beers that are completely different. They are literally night and day from each other.
Oh, very cool.
So it's something like I'm wearing this shirt because you guys are here. Something like Fair Isle. You bring a lager, that's fine, but we also want one of your barrel aged saisons.
Yeah.
Everything that going to Fair Isle was part of a honeymoon trip for my wife and I, and it was just like, oh my God, these guys are,
Yeah.
pardon my language, these guys are fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You had fun in Seattle.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But if we had ever had Fair Isle, it would be a lager and a barrel aged saison. Something like, we're good friends with people at Arcane Ale Works in Florida.
Okay.
And it would be one of those, all right, pastry stout and a smoothie sour.
Yeah.
Yes, they're both still sweet, but it's still completely
Yeah,
different.
different
styles.
ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I mean, the only breweries that we kind of told, look, you can bring 2 of the same is before they really blew up huge. I got to know the people at Human Robot a little bit in Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, look, no, you guys make great lagers. Bring 2 lagers. That's fine.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I understand that for sure.
Yeah.
But we did that. We did that 3 times. The first year we had 31 breweries. The second year we had 67.
Oh, wow.
The third year we had 58. But even that 58, we poured 133 different beers that day.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
So it's one of those things that beer fests are a little bit more difficult nowadays. So we're trying to figure out the right way to bring that back in the future and just how is it going to be.
Yeah.
Because we know it's going to have to look a little bit different if we ever do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So trust me, we love beer festivals. We love being part of that circuit. I mean, some of the best people I've met in my life have come from just going to beer festivals and being able to represent this
Yeah.
brewery.
Yeah, kind of those random but very amazing and fun interactions you get to have that you may or may not have thought that you would have anything in common or anything to talk about with this person. And all it takes is kind of like, hey, what are you drinking?
Yeah.
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 And Go ahead.
I was going to say, sometimes you don't remember those conversations. You have to be reminded of it the next day.
Sometimes 2 or 3 times.
But yeah, being able to meet some of the people that we've met over the years, owners of different breweries, head brewers, different representatives in different ways, and just to be able to connect with people across the country that if you had looked at me when I was working at this little restaurant where I was like, hey, let's bring in local beer, and said, so you're going to be talking with the owner of this brewery and this head brewer and this head brewer in Knoxville, Tennessee, or Keene, New Hampshire, or wherever I'm going. Like, no way. That's not going to be me.
That's why we love doing the podcast. We love being able to go to the places, and because it is hard to do festivals nowadays and stuff like that. It's like we love going and seeing all the places, and we realized that we wanted to be able to talk to the people as well and hear their stories. So big reason why we're doing the podcast.
I think it's great to see that Heist has become such a communal hub in Charlotte for not just beer drinking folk, for every type of folk to come here. And I know the success of your hazies and everything has really bolstered and helped Heist. But what does like the beer program look like going forward? I assume you kind of mentioned it briefly. You guys have distro accounts, so you have to have kind of your cores that you need to fill orders. That those tend to be like that's cash money in our hand that we could then utilize for other things. Is there a direction? Is it fill distro, or is there a more intricate thought process that goes into it that you can speak on?
It's a little bit of both.
Okay.
It's one of those things that COVID really changed things for us. Got to the point where I think our distro before COVID was about, I want to say 40% of our beer was going into distro, maybe 35%.
Okay.
Post-COVID, flipped that.
Gotcha.
About 65% of our beer goes into distribution. So it's ensuring we're making sustainable beer at this point. We're not going to compromise who we are or what we've done or who we've become. But we're also ensuring that the quality is going to remain.
Yeah.
So
looking at the shelf life and stuff like that.
Exactly. We have Citroquential, typical hazy IPA. You don't really want to let that one sit. Typically you want to drink that one within 4 to 6 weeks. We do quality control, and most of the time that one's still good 8 to 10 weeks later. The biggest thing in the past 2.5, 3 years is we've really entered the lager realm. That we used to make one here and there just to have on for the people that wanted beer-flavored beer.
I'm sad I'm not wearing my shirt that says that. We did a podcast with Recluse in Washington, and their thing is beer-flavored beer. And I have a shirt that says beer-flavored beer on it. I'm sad I'm not wearing it.
So the big thing that has changed is we've explored, we've really taken an adventure into what can a lager be.
Nice.
So something like the lager that I gave you to start.
I finished it. It's great.
So that one is called Crispy Kitty.
I love the name.
Based off of our Carolina Panthers that are 2 miles up the road.
Gotcha.
Oh, rad.
I wish they were a better team. I'm still a Patriots fan through and through, but I want success for the local team, and it hurts to see that it's not here. But it's our twice a year, we brew it during football season, and that's it.
Oh, nice.
And the first batch comes out a week before football season. But it's a nice, easy drinking 5.2% American lager. It's literally meant to be a clone of a Budweiser or a Miller or something like that. But we also look at other aspects where we've got an Italian Pilsner called Viva that's just complete change on the palate when you drink that. We've got another dry hop Pilsner called Fantail Flight that uses all Nelson hops, and it's like white wine for beer drinkers.
Oh, awesome.
So to be able to go into all of these different areas, because lager's not just lager anymore. They're every brewery is trying to explore what can we do that's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And the great thing that our brew team is doing now is what is different. What can we do to tweak things and change it a little bit to make it who we are?
Yeah.
So at any given time, like I said, we used to keep one on just in case. I believe we've got 8 on right now, and they are all different styles of lager.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we continue to make haze. We release 1 or 2 a week, but we make sure that our lager category is very well stocked. This is the time of year where we typically also release a few brown ales. We're about to start dipping into our barrel cellar, and we're planning our first barrel age release of the year next month.
Oh, awesome! Congrats to that.
Yeah.
What type of beer is it?
So we're just it's barrel aged stout.
Okay, gotcha.
But
Whiskey barrels, rum barrels,
all whiskey barrels.
all whiskey barrels.
When we started brewing our stock of everything a couple of years back, we just tried to, what can we get? What can we get our hands on? We love Heaven Hill barrels. They're very neutral. You get that nice oak, that nice vanilla note from them. We have some Old Forester barrels. We have Weller barrels. It's a little bit of everything, and we typically don't do single barrel releases. We'll take 2 or 3, blend them together, but that'll be a full 3 hours of a day is just pulling nails. How do we, what can we blend together? Does this barrel work with this barrel?
Yeah. Getting your desired profile and taste that you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it is, all right, what barrels, like for our first one, we are planning on doing just the base, which is just proof of well-made beer that's been able to age properly. And we're going to do one that's got a single adjunct. We're leaning towards vanilla or coconut, like most people are.
I already do it.
Yeah. Hey, I don't mind it. It's so good.
No, it's great, and I don't laugh at that. I just when I work, I'll briefly say, working at Fort George with our buddy Dave Coyne, who now runs Obelisk Beer Co. But he was the barrel baron. And he did a beer called Matryoshka, and then we did Matryoshka variants. So you did vanilla beans, you did coconut, and then you did vanilla and coffee, and then you did vanilla, coconut, and coffee, and then sometimes it'd be cherries. But there was like 10 or 12 variants that we would do. It's always an amazing process to watch, but this is before I think he knew how to process vanilla beans a different way. He had to cut all the vanilla beans that you'd get with just like a kitchen knife. And he's like, this is fun until you get about to like 5-6 hours of doing this. And then you're like, man, why did I decide to do 12 different variants of this beer?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But that's exciting.
Yeah,
Vanilla
that is so
vanilla and coconut are great.
Yes.
So I'm excited.
Yes.
Well, and the thing I always think about is all of these places that are doing stouts now, sometimes you're trying to do way too damn much.
Oh, yeah.
You don't need to put 7, 8, 10, 12. The more you put into a beer, the higher an expectation level is. And I'm not saying that the expectation level on a single adjunct barrel-aged stout should be low. If you're creating quality liquid, then it should be even higher.
Yeah.
So I think if we stick to just one and we execute that properly, you better expect us to come out with a great beer, because we're going to come out with a great beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly.
That's really exciting. Yeah, very exciting for y'all. So what's coming up for y'all in the next few months? Do y'all have anything that you're excited about for the rest of the year?
So cool thing that's happening is at the end of October, mid to end of October, Charlotte Craft Beer Week is coming up.
Oh, nice.
And it's something that over the years has been very polarizing, to say the least. There's times where it has been more focused on specific breweries or specific events in areas. And the way that it's being done this year, there are anchor events throughout the week, but every brewery is being given the ability to, hey, add your own creativity at your space, give people a reason to come to see you, as well as being part of events A through G.
Oh, nice.
So the big thing for us, that's going to be when our stout release is.
Okay.
We are planning, kind of like with Two Quenchel, we do the whole treatment. We call it the super hop treatment. I mean, something like you've got other half that does like the HDHC treatments.
Yeah.
Basically, our version is super hop. We are creating a brand new super hop beer to be released during that.
Awesome.
So the base of it is called Party Brigade, which is from the movie Beer Fest.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people have watched that one, but it's a once a year watch for me all the time. The whole line is we're the Party Brigade, and we came to play some drinking games.
Yeah.
And this is right after one of the characters shotguns two 22s.
Yeah. 2 22-ounce, big boys.
Yeah.
So it was just one of those. All right, how can we fit this in? Because the first time we ever made it was based around the first festival we had. So it was like, all right, can we name something from a beer festival around that? And Party Brigade just it hit.
Yeah.
So now we're upgrading the party during Charlotte Craft Beer Week. It just felt like the right time to do it finally.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So stout release, that. Another one of our fun events that we're doing is, everyone loves collaborations, and we've collabed with a lot of people across the state of North Carolina. One of the days of that, we're doing a tap takeover Thursday, and we're going to bring in 5 breweries that we've collabed with from across the state of North Carolina.
Oh, awesome.
So while it is Charlotte Craft Beer Week, we still want to be able to show that the rest of the state is making incredible things, and the people that we've worked with, we respect what they do. We respect the direction they've gone in, and we love everyone that we've worked with, and we want to be able to showcase them.
Yeah. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's really awesome.
Yeah.
So that's specific dates for Charlotte Craft Beer Week. Do you know off the top of your head?
October 18th through the 27th.
Awesome. And I'm assuming it's probably www.charlottecraftbeerweek.com. If not, it's something that we can put out a reel, and we'll give you all the information if you want to buy tickets and sign up so you're able to be a part of this. Because we won't be around, but if somebody wants to try Party Brigade and then tell me about it, I would really like to know what that's about. Please and thank you.
For sure, yeah. So we just have one last question.
Yes.
If you were to give yourself a piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Pay attention sooner. This is something that I've turned into enjoying traveling to find new locations. It's part of how my now wife and I met 5 years ago, was through beer. It's something that we've enjoyed traveling to do, is when we go visit my family in New Hampshire. The last time we were up there, we went to, we spent one day between Schilling, Freak Folk, and Hill Farmstead.
Oh, wow.
We hit those 3 breweries all in one day, and we still think about it, like almost a year later.
Yeah.
If I had started to pay attention sooner, I would have started loving beer sooner. I would have been more immersed in this culture sooner. And it's something that I've really loved for 16 years now, and I've loved being able to try to make my mark on it for the past 14.
Yeah.
Had I started sooner, how much more enamored would I be?
Yeah.
Because this is something that's still every day. I look at I follow so many different breweries on Instagram, on Facebook. What are they doing? What's the cool thing that's out now? And just the level of innovation still just blows my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to truly care about the industry the way that I do, I wish I would have paid attention sooner so that I could have loved it earlier in life.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, your passion is a testament. It's very obvious, and I know we appreciate it.
Yeah.
That's why we got into this industry. I think the industry is thankful to have you in it, and Heist is very much so thankful to have you in their business because this was an amazing conversation.
Yeah, this was so good.
So we really appreciate you giving us our time, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
I appreciate you reaching out and being able to take time out of your insanely busy schedule to be able to fit us in. And I genuinely appreciate it. And thank you for letting me tell my story and letting me tell the Heist story
Yeah,
altogether.
For sure.
Of
Thank
course.
you so much. Cheers, friends.
Cheers.
Oh, God, that was so good.